Starts at night, always at night. You're lying in bed in your home in Taos, New Mexico, and the house is silent, and then you hear it, a low throb, like a diesel engine idling somewhere far away. You get up, you check the furnace, you check the road, nothing. You go back to bed and there it is again, steady, patient. Beneath the floor of the world, you call your neighbor, they hear it too. And when the scientists come with their instruments, the machines say one thing very clearly: there is nothing here. Taos sits in the high desert of northern New Mexico, a small place. Artists, ranchers, retirees, the kind of town where the silence is part of why people move there. And in the early 1990s, that silence began to break. Not for everyone, that's the first strange thing. Roughly 2% of the population reported it, a faint, persistent, low-frequency hum. They described it the same way over and over: a distant diesel engine, a truck idling that never drives away. A pressure more than a sound. The people who heard it called themselves hearers. A small, frightened community within a community. They compared notes at the grocery store, in coffee shops, on porches at dusk. Some said it was worse indoors. Some said it followed them. And the ones who couldn't hear it looked at the ones who could with a kind of careful pity. Because how do you prove a sound that only you can hear? The hearers weren't imagining things, or at least they didn't believe they were. They were losing sleep, losing focus. A few described headaches that bloomed behind the eyes, pressure in the ears, a growing, gnawing dread that something invisible was being done to them. By 1993, enough people had complained that the matter reached the United States Congress. Lawmakers actually convened a panel of scientists to investigate. Think about that for a moment. A sound so persistent, so maddening, that the government assembled experts to hunt for it, and the experts arrived. And they listened. The investigation was led by researchers from the University of New Mexico, along with scientists from Los Alamos National Laboratory and Sandia. These were not amateurs. Los Alamos is the birthplace of the atomic bomb. These people understood instrumentation at a level almost no one on Earth could match. They brought equipment designed to detect the faintest vibrations in air and earth. They placed sensitive microphones in the homes of the hearers. They monitored acoustic and electromagnetic frequencies across a wide spectrum. They looked for power lines, for industrial equipment, for seismic activity, for anything that could produce a low-frequency drone. And here is the detail that resets everything. The instruments detected no sound. In the homes of people who would swear on their lives, that the hum was filling the room, the machines registered nothing unusual. No acoustic signal. No vibration that matched what the hearers described. The sound the people heard simply was not present in the physical air around them. The scientists tested the hearers directly. Some could correctly sense when a low tone was played, suggesting their hearing was genuinely sensitive. But the source, the actual hum, was never captured, never recorded, never isolated. The study concluded without an answer. The town was left exactly where it started, except now it was official. The sound that thousands of people would describe in identical terms, across decades, across continents, could not be found by the most precise machines ever built. So the question stopped being, what is the sound? And became something far more disturbing. Is the sound even outside the body at all? Here's what nobody expected. The hum wasn't local. As Taos made headlines, reports surfaced from other places, and the descriptions matched so precisely it was eerie. In Bristol, England, people had complained of a similar low droning as far back as the 1970s. Hundreds wrote to newspapers describing sleepless nights and a sound that engineers couldn't trace. In Auckland, New Zealand, a researcher actually claimed to record the Windsor hum's cousin, a faint signal at around 56 Hz. In Windsor, Ontario, the hum became so notorious that it earned its own suspect, a place called Zug Island. Zug Island sits in the Detroit River, an industrial fortress of steel mills and blast furnaces, fenced off and secretive. For years, residents of Windsor pointed across the water and said, that's where it comes from. The throbbing, they insisted, lined up with the island's heavy industry, but proving it was another matter. Investigations were launched, funding stalled, access to the island was tightly controlled, and the hum mostly continued. What ties these places together is the pattern, the same percentage of people affected. The same description, a diesel idle, a pressure, worse at night, worse indoors. The same instruments failing to find a clear source. Different countries, different decades, different climates, the same invisible sound, That's not how local industrial noise behaves. That's something else. Something that crosses oceans and reappears, identical in the ears of strangers who have never spoken to one another. And once you know that, the Taos hum stops feeling like a quirk of one small town. It starts to feel like a signal, one we don't understand. When science can't find a source, theories rush in to fill the silence. Some are mundane, some are not. The most accepted explanation is industrial, distant machinery, gas pipelines, power plants, wind turbines. Low-frequency sound travels enormous distances and bends around terrain in strange ways, so a source miles away could, in theory, reach a bedroom and nowhere else. But that doesn't explain why the instruments find nothing in the room. Another theory points to the Earth itself. Microseisms, the faint, constant vibration of the planet, caused by ocean waves pounding distant coastlines. The ground beneath us is always humming, just below the threshold of normal hearing. Then there are the stranger ideas, military communications, submarine transmitters using extremely low frequencies that can penetrate ocean and rock. Some hearers became convinced the sound was deliberate, a weapon, a test, something hidden. And then there is the explanation that frightens people the most, that the hum isn't out there at all, that it's generated inside the head, a form of autocaustic emission where the inner ear itself produces sound, or a neurological phenomenon, the brain interpreting silence and filling it with a tone, the way it fills the void with ringing in tinnitus. If that's true, then the machines were never going to find anything, because the sound lives in a place no microphone can reach, the mind. And that opens a door no one wants to walk through. For most people, a hum would be an annoyance, a reason to buy earplugs, but for the hearers, this is not a minor thing. The hum has been linked, in the words of one report, to something far darker. It has driven some to insanity, and in rare and terrible cases to suicide. Imagine a sound you cannot escape. You move to a different room, it's there. You leave the house, it follows. You travel to another town, and after a few quiet nights it returns. There is no off switch, no way to cover your ears against a sound that may be coming from inside them. Sleep becomes impossible, and without sleep everything frays, concentration, patience, reason. Hearers describe a slow erosion of the self. The constant low pressure becomes a kind of torture, not loud, never loud, but relentless. The most haunting part is the isolation. When you tell people about a sound they can't hear, you watch them decide whether to believe you. Spouses grow skeptical, friends grow tired, doctors find nothing wrong with the ears. And slowly the hearer is left alone with the only thing that never leaves the hum. A few have described it as feeling cursed, marked, selected by something they can't see for a punishment they don't understand. And the cruelest detail of all is this: there is no diagnosis, no cure, no proof, just a person, awake at 3 in the morning, listening to a sound the rest of the world insists isn't there. So we arrive at the question that splits researchers right down the middle. Is the hum a scientific fact or a mass delusion? The skeptics make a strong case. The hum appears in clusters. People hear about it, then begin to hear it themselves. Suggestion is powerful. The human brain is a pattern-finding machine, and in true silence it will manufacture sound. Anxiety amplifies everything. Once you're listening for a hum, you'll find one: the refrigerator, the blood in your own ears, the faint pressure of the room. Under this view, the hum is real to the hearer, but exists nowhere else. A glitch in perception spreading like a rumor, but the believers point to the inconvenient facts. The descriptions are too consistent. The percentage affected is too stable across unconnected places. And in a handful of cases, Auckland, others, something was actually measured, a faint low signal that shouldn't have been there. If it were pure delusion, why would instruments occasionally catch a whisper of it? The honest answer is that we don't know. The hum may not be one thing. It may be a dozen different phenomena wearing the same mask: industrial noise here, inner-ear emissions there, anxiety and suggestion in between. A mystery that survives precisely because it refuses to be a single answer. And that may be why it endures. You cannot solve a problem you cannot fully define. The hum doesn't behave like a sound. It behaves like a question. Decades have passed since Taos went to Congress. The instruments came and went, the study was filed away, and the hum is still here. Not just in New Mexico, in Bristol, in Windsor, across the water from that secretive island of steel, in quiet towns all over the world where tonight someone is lying awake listening. The truth is we have built machines that can hear the heartbeat of the planet, detect a single distant earthquake, measure vibrations finer than a human hair. And still, this sound slips through. It exists in a gap between our technology and our biology, in a place we haven't learned how to look. Maybe it's the earth breathing. Maybe it's the hidden machinery of the modern world, leaking its low voice into our bedrooms. Maybe it's the brain itself, alone in the dark, refusing to accept true silence. Or maybe, and this is the thought that keeps the hearers awake, it has always been there, beneath everything. And only now, in a world quiet enough and a few ears sensitive enough, are some of us finally beginning to hear it. The most unsettling mysteries are not the loud ones, they're the quiet ones. The ones you have to stop and listen for. So the next time you're alone, late at night, and the house goes truly still, be careful, don't strain to hear it, because some of the people who started listening for the hum never managed to stop. A sound that thousands hear, that no machine can find, that crosses oceans and decades and refuses to be explained. Is it the planet, the power grid, or something inside our own heads? We genuinely don't know, so tell us, have you ever heard it? That low, distant throb in the dead of night? Drop it in the comments. And if you want more mysteries the world can't quite explain, subscribe to the Obscura Files. We're always listening.